Hi, so in this video, I just want to quickly walk you through how to create a works cited page, works cited page citation, and then how to list those using the materials that I have on D2L. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Okay, so in week 8, I have provided a few additional resources this week for you. The instructional materials has a few things that you've already seen, some things that you haven't, and you can kind of look at with your discretion. There's a video in there, for instance, about integrating quotations into your papers, so that might be useful for you to check out. But specifically, I just want to focus on this MLA citation style for in-text citations and works cited page. Basically, I just want to walk you through how to use it. Sometimes students end up there and they don't really know what they're looking at. So if you click on this link, which I already have, it should take you to the library's MLA citation style guide. And there's a number of different resources here. So on the right, there is a template for containers. There's a sample in-text citation sheet. There's a sample works cited page, etc. So just quickly, this is what a works cited page will look like in some form. If you've not done one before, this is what it is. It's not the last page of your essay, it's the page after the last page of your essay. So if your essay is 4 pages, then that means that the writing needs to be 4 pages, and then you need to include a works cited page in addition to that. So the works cited page goes at the very end of the document that you submit, and it's basically this. It's a list of sources in alphabetical format with a hanging indent. So essentially, all that you would do, let me put some of this stuff down here. Okay, so these bullets on the citation style guide are essentially the information that you need to look for in a source. Now, if you don't have certain information, then you just exclude it from the citation. So it's really all about what information you have available to you to present to the reader. And the goal of this, again, is just, or for the first time, really, I'm saying this, the goal here is to let the reader know how they can access this information. So the thing that I always show students in class, if you just copy and paste that, and then we're going to copy and paste all this stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'll just fill it out for a source, and then I'll show you how to kind of format it from there. So what I want to do, pull this like this. All right, so we'll use the Partner source. First thing we need is the author's name. So the author's name, Anu Partner. Now I went ahead and listed it like that. But in MLA, you want the last name first. So Anu Partner, and then you just put a period after it. Title of the source. The title of this source is What Americans Keep Ignoring About Finland School Success. And that will go in quotation marks. And it's formatted the way that it's formatted here. So notice the caps, you would include the capital letters in this way. If you're doing, like a newspaper article, for instance, it doesn't have caps the whole way through. So you just format it the way that the title is formatted. All right, so we got the title of the source. Title of container. Now, what is a container? Container is what it sounds like. It's something that a source is contained within. So a container is really just a larger source. Articles are contained within magazines and newspapers. Songs are contained within albums or records. Chapters are contained within books, right? So the source in a container gets quotations. A container, the title of a container gets italics. So the Atlantic is the container for this because the Atlantic is the magazine that this is housed in. So we put the Atlantic in italics. We need commas, not periods. Getting ahead of myself. All right. Other contributors, this is typically editors. Sometimes there's multiple writers or just sort of guest appearances or whatever. There are no other contributors on this source, and I don't think there's really other contributors on any of the articles that I have for you. So we don't need that. Version and number refers specifically to, if it's a magazine or a newspaper, they typically publish these in like they categorize them. So there might be like like version 7 number, like issue number 13. That you might find more on magazines. Since this is online, there isn't a version or number to this. It may have appeared in like the October issue, let's say, but it doesn't say that specifically. So like this could have appeared in the December issue, but it doesn't say that it does. Usually they make that distinction. So we don't need to worry about that. There's no other contributors. There's no version or number. You just delete that. Publisher then. Sometimes the publisher is the magazine. Sometimes it's somebody else. You can usually find this down here at the bottom. This is published by the Atlantic Monthly Group. So that would be the publisher, the Atlantic, comma. Publication date, this was published December 29th, 2011. And that's written this. So day, month, year. And then location. Location only refers to a specific number of things. They used to refer to where the source could be accessed. So if it was like in print or online, this is not. So it could be like page numbers. If it's a chapter in a book, you would cite the page numbers that it came from. If it's a particular section of a video, you would cite that particular segment, so the timestamps of that. This is actually an internet source, so you would cite the URL, which this should open. Okay, it should be opening in the Atlantic. Okay, there we go. So you just want to copy the URL here. Paste it like that. Okay, so now we have all the information. And what I want to show you is if you just delete the excess. Okay, so there we go. There is our citation. I'm going to make sure this is, okay. So that's it. That's the citation. And we're finished with that one. And quickly, I'll just do another one so you can kind of see how this might work. So I'm going to do Clobber's, but if you notice, Clobber is his name is the first letter of his last name would come before Partnan. So we'll put him up here. All right, it's Jim Clobber, and then we know the title. Yes, college does. And this came from the Herald Mail. And it should also open in another. Okay, I'm gonna look for this one. So get that up there. The Herald Mail. There are no other contributors. There's no version or anything like that. This appeared online. We need the publisher though. The publisher, if I get rid of all these freaking advertisements. Looks like it's now the Gannett company. This company changes so many times. I'm pretty sure last semester it was a different company. So Gannett Co. And then we need the publication date. Second. Then we need the URL again. So copy the URL. And there we go. Now, I have two of these. If you are using Word, this is very simple. If you need hanging indent, you just highlight your citations and hit Control T. Does the hanging indent for you. The other way that you can do this is through Format and Paragraph. And you want to make sure that the special is, when you highlight everything, it should select to hanging. So hanging indent is what this is called. And the purpose of it is it just offsets the last name or the beginning of a citation so that when you see the works cited page, you can access the information a little easier. So that's the works cited page here. Okay. For in-text citations that you will need throughout the essay, this is really important because as you write your essay and you include sources, you should include in-text citations. All in-text citations are these parenthetical citations at the end of any sentence where you quote from a source, where you paraphrase from a source, where you reference any kind of material in a source. So if you use any information, whether it's just a statistic that's not a quote, or an idea from a source, or it's a direct quote or a paraphrase of the source, you have to include the in-text citation. And all you do is essentially you would put a parentheses, and then there would be certain information. So, and it depends on the source. So for our sources here, which are articles that exist within a larger container, right? We're citing the article, right? We're not citing the magazine, we're not citing the newspaper because that's way too broad. There's too many things within that, that too much stuff that's contained within those containers. So we're just citing the specific articles, which means that we would put, the article title here. So if we're citing Clauber, we would put yes, college does pay. And that would be it. Now for the other one, for Partner, it would be the same thing, but both of these are kind of long, so MLA allows you to condense this a little bit. So I could condense this down to keep it a little shorter. I'm only shaving off 2 words there, but these longer titles are a little bit more difficult to include in your essay. So I just shaved off the last 2 words. If we don't have it for this article, but there's one Herald Mail article called "Heroin Hits Home: Narcan and its effects on the opioid epidemic." Blah 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 blah. Like there's a whole bunch of words in the title. I usually, for the classes that use that, it's it looks like this: "Heroin hits home, Narcan." So it's really about condensing the information in a way that's honest, and in a way that your reader can kind of reference it if they look at your works cited page. So that's all you need to do for all the articles that we're using in this paper. If, for instance, you're quoting from a book, right? Books are larger. The book itself may be the source, so maybe it's not a chapter from the book. You're just actually quoting from the book. So let's say you're doing an analysis of Frankenstein, and Frankenstein is your source. There's no smaller source, right, that you're quoting from. You're just quoting from the book. For larger sources like that, you would typically do the author's last name and the page number. So for Frankenstein, it would be Shelley, and then, let's say we quote from page 59 of the text. The way I always explain it to students, if you're ever confused, is if the source has page numbers, like not just any old page numbers. So I'm not talking about the way that newspapers are paginated. So I'm not talking about like a page A4. I mean, like if the source has page numbers, like it's a magazine or a book, then typically, if you're citing from that larger source, it's the last name and the page number. If it's a source without page numbers, it's just on a scroll. So, you know, these types of sources, just kind of scroll down. There's no page numbers there. It's just the whole website. This doesn't have page numbers, so therefore you can't cite any page numbers. You just cite the title. So I always tell people, if there are page numbers, you do author's last name and page number. If there are no page numbers, you do the title of the source. If there is a video, it's a combination of that. So if it's a video you're citing from, it's the title of the video and then the timestamp from where the cited material appears. And that's basically it. Make sure that this is double space, obviously. And then the way that, you know, in-text citations might work, you'd say, you know, while I think that college degrees are not the best pathway to success, Jim Klauber, I don't have a specific quote off the top of my head here. We'll just pull this one. Let's say I just want to use this quote. So we'll pull this quote. Make sure you format this. So the font's the same. And then, so I've quoted Klauber, and I just put, yes. Right? So that's essentially what I'm asking you to do. In your essay, anytime you quote from a source, anytime you reference a source, ideas within the source or statistics or information from the source, or you paraphrase it, you have to include these in-text citations. If you're ever unsure, it doesn't hurt to include the in-text citation. I'm not going to take points off for that. But do know that it will affect your grade if you don't have citations or I don't know where you're getting your information from. So let me know if you have any questions. I have office hours this week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you need any extra attention or you are confused about this. So